Nezuko.
What is up, my fellow viewers? This is Kekadzi Otaku and welcome to another video. Remember how in my video about my anime recommendations for summer season of 2020 I did advise you to watch Gibiate? Yeah, let's scrap that, okay? Let's pretend I didn't recommend any of that shit. Honestly, I don't know if I should make an honest review or a complete rant video about it. But since I dropped this anime after the first 5 episodes, let's make it a mix of review slash rant. It's interesting how this show made it to the top 10 worst rated anime on Mal, so yeah, congratulations Gibiate, you made it. But all jokes aside, I'm going to give you some honest thoughts about Gibiate and why I consider it as the worst anime of summer 2020. And I can even say that it's probably the worst of the year, so yeah. This is a spoiler-free video review slash rant because I myself have not seen enough to even get to the gritty meat of the story, because this anime has bigger issues that are much more important to talk about besides the characters or the plot. If you have seen the first few episodes of Gibiate, you can probably summarize the whole show by saying it is an anime made by people that either didn't have the proper budget to animate, or the studio behind it didn't know how to animate whatsoever. I mean, honestly, seeing this footage, you can probably understand what I mean. But I'm getting too ahead of myself, so let's start with a proper structure and begin with a brief summary of this anime, shall we? The story starts off in the year of 2030 in Japan, where the planet has entered in an apocalyptic state due to a virus named Gibiate that would infect people and turn them into monsters, depending on their age, their gender, or race. However, a samurai named Sensui and a ninja by the name of Kenroku travel in time from their ancient era to this chaotic world where they must help out the remaining population against Gibiate monsters and save the world. So, the story itself is seemingly boring, despite being an interesting concept. Having two characters from a different era travel to what we would call a completely different world and see how they interact and adapt to new ways and new lifestyles despite the world being in a state of complete chaos would still be an interesting approach. However, every time one of those moments would happen, it always felt underwhelming. Every moment appears to be uninteresting and nothing seems to matter. What I mean is, every scene that supposedly has some degree of importance is washed out due to the way the animation is presented with short scenes, weird camera angles and clunky animation. There seems to be a lack of notion of what is important and what isn't, making it very confusing for the viewer. Despite the intention of making an old anime art style, which was something I was excited for considering the theme of the story, some scenes were definitely below par. You can clearly see this, especially from the third episode onwards, where it seems that the team behind the animation couldn't keep up with the consistency of character design, making us the viewers aware of that instead of being absorbed by the story and the characters. Unlike the trailer, certain anime episodes were really difficult to watch, with weird character drawing with a contrast of bad CGI monsters, making the whole thing a big pile of mess. It reminded me back when CGI was first introduced into the anime scene. You could clearly see that difference, between the hand-drawn anime and what was, computed. The music itself does bring me vibes of anime from the 90s and the 80s, but it certainly doesn't back up the whole problem of the animation. The tone for most of the soundtracks has this orchestral theme that were really typical for fighting scenes from the anime, especially from the 90s. But if you go a bit deeper, each single character is so bland and boring. There are brief moments of background description for each character, making it exceedingly difficult to feel attached to any of them. The story does seem to follow a certain logical structure. However, it is without saying that it is very generic, without any proper build-up. As you may expect, some characters are doomed to die, because, well, the story is set in a dystopian world and people will struggle to survive. However, when the story reached a point of tragedy, like someone dying, for example. It was such a letdown because of the poor animation and characters' lack of emotion. Some story inconsistencies are worth mentioning as well, since it didn't make really sense to me. For instance, I wonder why Kathleen sees Sensui as a god that can defeat every monster as a savior of mankind. I mean, sure, he's a very skilled samurai, and he was also known for being called Seningri, or Thousand-Man Slasher. But since there's a risk of people getting infected if they are wounded by the Gibiate monsters, having a more ranged approach did seem safer, logically, and with all the weaponry they had at their disposal, as you can see in the anime, with guns and whatnot, I really can't understand how she felt safer with, him being around. Using a sword? I mean, no, but Another aspect I disliked was the fact that Kenroku falls really quickly to the supporting character category and disappears completely. I'm not an expert on ninjas' capabilities, but I'm pretty sure that ninjas are talented at planning surprise attacks and are good at deception with great stealth abilities. Most of the time, all we see is Sensui fighting monsters, leaving Kenroku fighting behind the scenes, changing his hair color and whatnot, which is totally not important. I think they should have focused on what each and single character can be good at, having Sensui being a samurai using his abilities, and having Kenroku being a ninja using his abilities as well. And we didn't see any of that, or I think we didn't see enough of that. But hey, like we all know, anime is a form of medium, and it is used to tell all sorts of stories, usually adapted from the reading materials like manga, light novels, visual novels, etc. The animation is a core aspect of anime because it gives life to characters, to the world, and its concepts around it. Gibiate unfortunately failed miserably because the core aspect wasn't there. Animation needs to be consistent because it is the main engine that is used to present the writer's ideas of the world that it is being shown, the characters' traits and personalities, and all things in between. Without a proper animation, the story becomes inconsistent, confusing, and the characters lack flair and personality. Despite having great character designs by the infamous Yoshitaka Amano, known for his works from the Final Fantasy series, this anime could have been a big success if the team responsible for the animation had done a better job. And that's really it for today's video. I'm sorry if it is a little bit shorter than usual, but I think this rant was necessary due to the fact that Gibiate is midway its course. We are on the 5th or 6th episode as of recording of this video. So yeah, I think it had to be addressed. So yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed my little review / rant. So yeah, don't forget to watch your daily dose of anime because it's good for your brain and heart. Take care, and I'll see y'all in the next video.